Holdfast Frontlines, released 3 years ago, is a DLC. That means you need a base game to play it, which is a Holdfast Nations at War. So, about my first impressions about this game. One of main mechanics here is commanders, which gives orders and can affect battle outcome. If we look at base game Nations at War, there are these line battles where players are required to be in a line to be able to shoot, but those are specific server events. On normal play that is not mandatory, but being in a line gives a bonus. There is a commanders on front lines, and one of major differences is weapons. Because on base game to reload your gun took like 20 seconds or so, on front lines player have magazine, and bullet reload is about 1 second. To reload your magazine takes longer, but that also is a lot less than in a base game, where was reloading only 1 bullet at a time. So overall, much more action with guns and more fun in that regard, but there also is one big impact from that. Fast reloads means enemy won't be able to come in melee distance so easily, and that is the case. In base game, melee combat is very often occurrence, and some of those fights were like crazy. Like one guy comes and does some kind of parkour and takes out 4, 5, 6 of your comrades, and then maybe even takes you out because you tried to reload for 20 seconds. Well, that happened. Crazy. And funny at the same time. And as I mentioned, this is not happening in Frontlines DLC. So now I will take a look on 2 maps I participated. Both of them had a lot of players, so it was interesting to play. I really liked the environment, which makes that countryside feeling. Lighting were nice, textures of grass, stone, wood, etc. A lot of that is missed when you start to engage in combat, because all the attention goes to try to spot the enemy, and basically a very little of this can be appreciated at that moment. I will mention that I have NVIDIA 1050 GPU, and it is one from like low end side, but it handled the game pretty well. I had no problems. So player can't ride tanks, unfortunately, but can shoot from cannons. I did not try it, as wanted more of action. So on battlefield, player can join squads, and what that gives is a squad can build a spawn tent, and you will spawn there, so can be closer to desired place. So at start it can be confusing to train a bit yourself to determine who is your enemy and who are friendly units. That of course can be seen on minimap, but in a gameplay are no super obvious signs, and it can lead to confusion when experienced enemy is behind lines among your team members. Then also are given assists if you harm enemy unit, which is nice for new players. It is nice to see an assist few minutes later after you actually shot the enemy. The second map was Offensive to Castle, and it was pretty epic scene, as server were almost full, bullets flying everywhere, and player can be taken out on every moment. One of most deadly things here was artilleries, as there are choke points and the artilleries are shooting right at them. I died countless times. I wonder how much rewards got those artillery operators. Probably a fortune. It was cool, as towers could be destroyed, and there inside of course was enemies. Further on, a wall were blown up and all of teammates poured in there. But it was a massacre. On every step bullets fly everywhere, and on top of that artillery shells are incoming. Here a big part is played by commanders who manage to gather up players who follow them and make a wave attack, because when players attack separately it is way less effective. Further on was one spot where that would not work as there were machine gun, but I mean it is a question of time when the gunner will fall. This area were bloodbath. Really hard to get through at the end. Here was one commander who gathered players and pushed through. But of course that could not be enough if assaulting force bleeds out and no one can defend new territory. Some moments were funny as middle of the massacre, some guys were playing music and some were just listening to them. Kind of black versus white atmosphere. These are moments which make the game funny and not a constant grind. So, my conclusions. Very fun game to play. For me it was interesting to play in pool servers, a lot of action goes there and can really enjoy the fight. Frontlines is pure action, shootout with guns. If you get tired of that, can return to base, game where melee plays bigger part. Also, I will mention that I saw some players complaining about weapons on Frontlines, as they claimed they are too weak, etc. But others said it is just a skill issue. So, debatable question. As it also matters where the bullet lands. If you hit the head, that's an instant kill.